So for this example, we're going to look at a graph of two functions. We've got our blue graph here, which it says is f of x, and we've got a red graph, which it calls g of x. Remember that a graph is just a visual representation of the inputs and the outputs of a function. Like for this blue one here, when the input is 2, or the x value is 2, the output is, in this case, 0. Or when the input is 3, the output is -1. Each of these values, each of these coordinate points, like the point 3, -1, represents an input and an output. So for example, if I wanted to know what f of 3 is, I would go to my function f, which is the blue one, and look to where the x value is 3, which happens right here, and the graph is down there at -1, so I know that this evaluates to -1. All right, so what if I want to combine them, like f plus g of -1? In this case, you're going to have to do it separately. I don't know what the functions are. I mean, I could come up with an equation for this stuff, but that would take a lot of work. So in this case, you're going to want to go ahead and separate f of -1 plus g of -1 and find them separately and add them together. So let's go to the input, or x value, of -1. That happens here. The f function is down at -1, so that's its output. The g function at -1 is up at 3, so the output for the g function is 3, because this is the point, -1, 3. And that's it. Just add them together. -1 plus 3 is 2. Let's try another one like that. Let's do f plus g of +1, which again, we'll just do f of 1 plus g of 1. Basically, just go see where the two graphs are when x is 1. That happens here. The f function is at 1. It's at 1, 1. So that's its output. The g function, when x is 1, is down at -1. So 1 plus -1 is 0. That's my answer on that one. Let's do 2 more. Let's try f times g of -1. Sometimes when I type these, I use a star instead of a dot. That still just means multiply, by the way. All right, so again, we'll just do f of -1, in this case times g of -1. So let's go find where they are at -1. F is at -1, g is at 3. Multiplying them together, -1 times 3 is -3. And finally, let's try a subtraction. F minus g at -2. So we'll find f at -2, we'll find g at -2, and we'll subtract them. So here's my input of -2. The f function is at 0 right there. This is the -2, 0. And the g function is at 2. And I'm subtracting those. 0 minus 2 is -2.